Back in 1987, Prince Harry was considered a rebellious member of the royal family, and for good reason. There are private letters from his mother, Princess Diana. The handwriting is unique and the signature confirms that these letters are from Princess Diana. Two princesses who were never close shared a secret letter. Princess Anne, dedicated to her duties, and Princess Diana, driven by emotion, were completely apart and begging to be heard and noticed. Their distant relationship led to endless gossip, but 26 years later a private letter between them came to light. Why did Diana write to Anne? Was it a warning, a request, or a secret that the royal family wanted to bury? Join us as we discover Diana's missing letter to Princess Anne. Diana's secret letter to Anne. On a chilly morning in Essex, England, in early 2024, auctioneer James Parker's hands shook as he opened an old, dusty box full of letters from Princess Diana. Private letters from the late Princess Diana will be auctioned in England today. Inside were thank you notes and nice messages that were to be auctioned off. However, one letter that stood out in particular was a sealed envelope for Princess Anne. This letter will change everything we know about the royal family. The letter had been in a private collection since Diana's death in 1997. Unlike her other letters, which were often sold or published in the news, this one remained sealed for 26 years. The cream envelope bore Diana's royal letterhead, and her neat handwriting was still clearly visible even after all these years. As news of the letter spread, royal experts quickly traveled to Essex. Among them was Dr. Sarah Matthews, a renowned historian who has studied Diana's letters. She noticed that this letter looked almost untouched. Unlike the others which were folded, their ink had faded and their edges were worn from being touched so often. It felt like it had been sealed just yesterday and perfectly preserved despite the passage of many years. The letter's journey to the auction house made the story even more mysterious. It belonged to 3 different people but was never opened. The last owner, retired banker Thomas Henderson, bought it for 2001 from someone who worked for the royal family. This person chose to remain unknown. Experts examining the envelope noticed something unusual, a small red wax seal with Diana's personal coat of arms. This was different from the usual royal seal she used. It turned out that the letter was very important because Diana only used this special seal for her most private messages. The words in the letter were even more surprising than her story. Diana wrote it in early 1997, just a few months before her death in Paris. The princess, who had been in the public eye all her life, died in Paris in a speeding car. There was neither anger nor sadness in her message. Instead, she calmly shared her thoughts on the future of the royal family. She also made an unexpected request to Anna, the only person who always kept her at a distance. Diana wrote about the changes she believes are taking place in the royal family. In 1997, these changes seemed unlikely, but now they seem real. She spoke about the royal family having to adapt, the growing power of the media, and how worried she was about how it would all affect her young sons, William and Harry. The most surprising thing was how Diana talked about Anna. Even though they were never close, she wrote with respect and understanding. She admitted that they were different, but praised Anne for her strength and loyalty to the royal family. Then came the most important part. Diana asked Anne to look after William and Harry in case something happened to her. The moment Diana made the request made it even more important. At the beginning of 1997, she became increasingly involved in charity activities, especially in the fight against landmines. In 1997, Princess Diana shocked the world by walking through a minefield in Angola. This job took them to dangerous places and made some powerful people unhappy. Her letter showed that she felt unsafe, but was still determined to move on. Royal historian Dr. James Bennett said that the letter showed that Diana was well versed in politics. She wrote about the same problems the royal family faces today, how to preserve traditions while meeting modern expectations, and the conflict between private life and royal duties. She saw everything before it happened. The palace did not comment on the letter, but its silence speaks volumes. They didn't say whether it was real or fake. However, handwriting experts who have examined Diana's other letters believe it is authentic. The paper, ink and writing style are the same as other confirmed letters from early 1097. Today the letter is safely stored in a special room in the British Library, where experts continue to study it. The discovery sparked new discussions about Diana's life and her ideas for the future of the royal family. Most importantly, she changed the perception of her relationship with Anya. Even though they were different, Diana seemed to trust Anna in a way that the others never noticed. This letter, kept secret for many years, is not only about the past. It helps us understand today's royal family. William and Harry have gone on very different paths, and the monarchy is still struggling with the changes that Diana once predicted. But Diana's final message was about more than just the future of the monarchy. In the months before her death, her letters became increasingly urgent. But why did she feel it was so important to write to Anna, with whom she had never been close? A mother's warning, a princess's hope. In the spring of 1997, Diana's secretary noticed a change in her. Normally, Diana was always careful with letters, but now she wrote more often. Her neat handwriting, otherwise smooth and graceful, seemed rushed, as if she felt she was running out of time. Ken Williams, a former royal official who worked with her in the final months of Diana's life, recalls how anxious she seemed. She often stayed up late at night writing. Sometimes he found her at his desk early in the morning, surrounded by sealed letters. These letters were not simply nice messages to friends or letters of thanks to charities. They were serious, full of warnings, secrets, and seemingly final instructions. Her butler Paul Burrell received a letter in which she wrote about dark forces surrounding her. He had a front-row seat to watch the royal family from home. Paul Burrell worked with Los Blancos for 20 years. He started as the Queen's servant and then became Princess Diana's butler. Her friend Lucia Flecha de Lima received another letter mentioning influential people demanding that she remain silent. The letter to Anna was different from the others. It was written on Diana's Kensington Palace paper and showed a side of her that few knew. Calm, prudent, and able to see the future. She wrote about the decline of the royal family's old habits and how William and Harry needed the freedom to make their own decisions. Diana's private secretary from 1996 to 1997, Patrick Jefferson, explained that Diana had long been paying attention to Anne. Although they were very different from each other, Diana respected the way and stayed true to herself while serving the royal family. She noticed something in Anya that many others missed. The letter showed how well Diana understood the struggles her sons faced. She wrote about the strict royal rules, endless public attention, and the pressure to always look perfect. These weren't just the fears of a mother. They were the warnings of someone who had experienced it all. Lady Sarah McCorquodale, Diana's sister, later said that Diana shared the same concerns with her family. She believed that the royal family had to change whether they wanted to or not. She was afraid her sons would be caught inside. The most surprising part of the letter was Diana's request to Anne. She didn't ask for protection in the usual way. Instead, she asked for understanding. She wanted someone who would support William and Harry in their royal life while allowing them to be themselves. Anne, who always went her own way in the royal family, seemed the right person for this. The letter also discussed Diana's charitable work, in particular her fight against landmines. She wrote about her trips to Angola and Bosnia and stated that this work gave her meaning beyond being a princess. But it also carried dangers. By interfering in political matters, she upset important people. Jenny Bond, former BBC royal reporter, spoke about why the moment is important. In early 1997, Diana reached a turning point. Diana always told me about everything that was happening in her marriage, in her life, and all the difficulties. She may no longer have a royal title, but she has found her own voice. She really changed the world. However, it was not without danger, Diana told, and that she felt like she was being watched. She noticed cars following her and heard strange silence during phone calls, but she didn't look scared. Her words sounded like someone making plans in case something happened. Diana's last words to Anne were not filled with fear or sadness. She wrote hopefully, "I hope that the royal family can change, that their sons will be happy, and that even distant relationships will become more intimate." She ended the letter not as a princess, but as a mother who entrusted the person she respected with the care of what was most important to her, her sons. At the end of the letter, Diana added a short note in which she wrote, "Time will tell that he is right." Today her words seem true. William tries to balance his royal duties with normal life, while Harry chose freedom over tradition. Diana saw it all coming. Diana's letter to Anne didn't come out of nowhere. Their complicated relationship began many years earlier and was characterized by quiet rivalry. What caused the distance between these two strong women? And how did a little misunderstanding at the royal baptism change everything? The royal gap between duty and change in the grand halls of Buckingham Palace in the early 1980s. Two princesses led very different lives. Princess Anna has already found her role in the royal family. She worked hard and attended many events each year. But she was not an attention seeker. Her days were filled with charity work, military events and meetings with heads of state, important but less glamorous duties of the royal family. Lady Pamela Hicks, Prince Philip's cousin and someone who knew the royal family well, remembered Anne's hard work. She said and rose early, read important newspapers and traveled to remote parts of the UK. Anna never sought praise. She believed that duty was its own reward. Then Diana appeared and brought with her warmth and energy that the audience loved. While Anne was serious and focused on her duties, Diana shone like a star. She had a special way of connecting with people, showing emotions, and even breaking royal rules by hugging or crying. This changed the perception of the royal family. The change was noticed by former royal reporter James Milton. He said Anna's work, such as opening hospitals and visiting schools, is almost never in the news anymore. Everyone just wanted to see Diana. If she wore a new dress or changed her hairstyle, it would be on the front page. The tension was hidden behind polite smiles. During royal occasions, Anne barely looked at Diana. In family photos she stood from a distance. These small gestures accumulate over time and create a distance that should last for years. Their way of dealing with royal life was very different. Anna followed the old rule of silence and not making any statements. Despite divorces and problems, she continued to work as if nothing was happening. Diana was the complete opposite. She spoke openly about her struggles with food and mental health, which helped people view the royal family more humanely. The problems began when Prince William was born in 1982. Royal rules stipulated that Anne should be his godmother, as Charles was already the godfather of her son Peter. This role should bring the family closer together and show trust. Royal author Sarah Bradford explained why this is important. Being chosen as the future king's godfather was more than just an honor. It showed faith in a person's wisdom and character. Anna believed she would be chosen. The whole family agreed. Diana made a different decision. She chose friends who showed her true kindness rather than sticking to tradition. Anne's omission surprised many members of the royal family. When Prince Harry was born 2 years later, Diana again did not choose Anne as her godmother. Lady Susan Hussey, who worked closely with the Queen, saw what happened next. She said Anne was injured. For Anne, it wasn't just about exclusion. She felt like Diana was rejecting her and everything she stood for: duty, tradition, and the right way to do things. Anne's reaction was telling. She was not present on the day of Harry's baptism. She said she had other plans, a hunting trip to her country house. Her message was clear. If Diana could ignore tradition, so could she. Then the distance between them deepened even further. Anna focused even more on her royal duties, while Diana began to defend herself. When they met at family gatherings, they were polite but distant. Each represented a different idea of what it means to be a princess. Despite their differences, they had something in common. They both wanted to develop their personalities in a royal world where princesses were expected to be silent and obedient. They just went their separate ways. Although the rivalry between them was expressed in newspapers and at royal functions, there was more going on in the palace. Diana initially had difficulty understanding royal life. But how did Anne's ignorance help shape the Diana the world later came to love? Diana's fight for recognition. Before fame and sorrow. Before the world called her the people's princess, Diana Spencer was a 19-year-old girl entering a life full of ancient rules and traditions. In the summer of 1981, a few weeks before her wedding to Prince Charles, she walked the great halls of Buckingham Palace, trying to understand the royal lifestyle. Marion Crawford, who once worked for the royal family, saw Diana struggling to fit in. She said Diana spent hours practicing the perfect curtsy, learning how to talk to different people and studying royal rules. She really wanted to be part of the family, and watched this without much interest. At formal dinners, Diana tried to converse using the polite words she had practiced, and just nodded curtly and continued eating without looking at her. These little rejections hurt more than any harsh words. These moments were noticed by Lady Elizabeth Anson, the Queen's cousin. She said Diana could brighten the room, but she seemed smaller in Anna's presence. Can you tell us about the royal receptions you've hosted in the past? They are completely different than back then. Her smile faded and she lost her confidence. Like a flower fading in the cold, the palace staff noticed Diana changing. She wasn't so warm and free anymore. Instead, she became nervous. Before family meetings, she repeatedly checked the rules for fear of making mistakes, but no matter how hard she tried, and never seemed to agree to it. In 1982, former palace chef Darren McGrady found Diana alone in the kitchen late at night. She cried and said she didn't understand what she had done wrong. She kept asking why some family members couldn't accept her for who she was. As Diana's marriage to Charles began to fall apart, she felt increasingly lonely in the palace. The same walls that have held many royal stories now imprison a young woman struggling with grief and an eating disorder. When she asked for help, all she found was silence. Royal correspondent Richard Kay noted that the palace's design reflected its emotional atmosphere. Long corridors, closed doors and strict social distancing rules sent a clear message. Personal conflicts should remain private and showing weakness is not acceptable. Anne's reaction to Diana's problems was telling. When Diana missed events due to bulimia, Anna reportedly said that the disease should not interfere with her duties. This showed how different they were from each other. Anna believed in staying strong and calm, while Diana was open about her feelings. Around 1990, Diana found a way to deal with it. She made friends with the younger staff, created quiet spaces where she could be herself, and used royal rules to protect herself. However, this came at a cost and she later told friends that she had lost part of her true personality. Diana's cousin, Sarah Spencer, revealed an important detail. She said that Diana kept a diary from an early age. Diana wrote in it that she felt like an actress in a play whose script everyone knew except her, and was seen in these pages not as an enemy, but as someone whom Diana wanted to help her survive in the royal world. For many years, the walls of the palace have preserved these untold stories. Now Diana's newly discovered letter to and reveals her final attempt to bridge the distance between them, which has shaped both of their lives in ways no one expected. The same palace walls that once silenced Diana later revealed the truth of her words. How many of Diana's warnings to end will come true as her sons grow up and make their own decisions? And what did Anya do with this knowledge? The prophecy has come true. In the year 2024, William and Harry are living a completely different life. As their mother had predicted, those who follow the royal family are amazed at how right Diana was. The letter she wrote to Anna in the last months of 1997 does not seem like a desperate warning, but rather a clear map of the future that has just come true. Margaret Wells, who once worked for both Diana and Anne, revealed an interesting detail. She said that Anna kept an old copy of the Times from August 1997 in her office in Gatcombe Park. The headline reads, "Diana calls for royal change." Many people thought at the time that Diana overreacted, but it is now clear that she understood things that others did not. William, who would one day become king, found a way to respect tradition while making changes. He married Catherine Middleton, who, like his mother, was not born into the royal family. Her way of raising children is similar to Diana's. Their children attend regular schools, participate in everyday activities, and show love in public. This is all Diana wanted, as she wrote in her letter. Former royal protector Graham Sterling recalled how unquietly influenced William, after Diana's death, and supported William's modern way of carrying out his royal duties. She never spoke about it publicly, but palace staff saw her defending his decision at private family meetings. Harry's path was still different. In 2020, he stepped down from his royal duties to Meghan Markle, shocking the royal family, but Diana saw this coming. In her letter to Anne, she wrote about the great pressures of royal life and that one of her sons might one day choose freedom over duty. Royal historian Dr. Eleanor Bradford explains why and reacted differently, while other family members spoke out against Harry's decisions and said nothing. She neither supported nor criticized him. It was very similar to what Diana wrote in her letter about how to deal with such a situation. The royal family is still trying to keep up with modern times, just as Diana expected. She warned that if they did not change, they could lose their relevance. Now news reports show that this is happening. The old royal rules don't always meet the expectations of today's people. Just as she said. Palace officials say and has changed little since Diana's death. She still works in her usual serious manner, but she has helped reduce the size of the royal family and give younger royals more freedom. These changes would be in line with Diana's wishes. Sarah Armstrong Jones, a close friend of both princesses, claims that Anna never mentions the letter. However, their behavior shows something else. Now he quietly supports the same changes Diana wanted. Fewer members of the royal family are working. More emphasis on real charity work and less on big royal events. Today, the royal family faces many serious challenges. And it seems that Diana's words to and came true. It is difficult for a family to remain relevant in a changing world while clinging to old traditions. At the same time, they must find ways to adapt and move forward. It was to this struggle that Diana referred in her final message, warning of the need for a balance between tradition and change. Now, as the family tries to get through these difficult times, her words are more relevant than ever. Lady and Glenn Connor, who has known both princesses since childhood, shares her thoughts. He says that Diana and wanted the royal family to survive in the modern world. They just had different ideas on how to achieve it. Thanks to William and Harry's decisions, both ideas are now becoming a reality at the same time. Diana's letter to and rewrote everything we thought we knew about their relationship. But would and regret that he didn't end up with Diana? If Diana could see what William and Harry's lives had turned out to be, would she believe that her warning had actually been heeded? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share and subscribe to learn more. Also click on the next video that appears on your screen. You'll like it.